This portion of the news brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Clogged drains from leaves and debris throughout the capital are posing a major challenge for teams from the Ministry of Works.
And with more rain forecasted, that means more flooding and greater frustration for residents in those flood-prone areas. Andrew Knowles spoke with a works official on the team's action plan to alleviate this clogging.
They call it a band-aid on the situation, saying a temporary fix to the drainage system is not good enough. Residents of Sutton Street have had to endure a flooded street for days, and they say the problem needs to be corrected.
It's really bad right now because you notice the guys is really, we call the guys and they trying to fix it right now. But I mean, you can't do nothing with God rain.
A Ministry of Works team was in the area cleaning the drains in order to try and avoid more flooding.
When the rain come down again, I sure can be flooded again. And it makes sense they doing that and they ain't fix the drain and stuff. So the water gets set low.
Ministry of Works Senior Engineer Dexter Williams says teams are across the capital trying to unclog the drains. However, they face a number of issues.
We have a lot of challenges with respect to trash in the drains, grass from the cuttings from the drains, and people throwing stuff like styrofoam cups and bottles and all that type of thing inside the drains.
Now, what workmen here through Sutton Street are trying to do is to alleviate the water clog in that drain right there. Now, once the system clears next week, they'll come back and re-drill the well.
When we leave here, we're going to Pinewood to pump some water, but we need a truck because of the geological makeup of Pinewood. Drain the area in normal storm events is a challenge. Moreover, in events such as this, where these wells are designed for 5 inches of rain approximately, and we had like 15 inches.
Residents in flooded areas have complained about the improper maintenance of the drains. However, Williams says they are cleaned 3 times a year, and in some cases, more frequently.
The irony of the situation is that in Pinewood, for example, we just finished cleaning, not all, but some of the wells there in Pinewood. And some of the wells that we just cleaned, those places like Avocado, they're underwater. So because of, as I said before earlier, the geological makeup of the area doesn't lend itself to efficient disposal of stormwater using the drainage wells.
With just about 900 drainage wells throughout the island, Williams is appealing to residents who live near the drains to assist by raking away any debris. Andrew Knowles, ZNS Network News.
Vice President of Bahama First Claims and Support Services, Richard Darville, says flood victims, who are at least clients of Bahama First and were impacted by last week's torrential rain and floods, are covered under their homeowners and comprehensive motor insurance policies. Mr. Darville says close to 200 insurance policyholders who sustained significant damage to their homes and vehicles, particularly in the Winton Estates area of New Providence, have already filed claims.
We've probably seen somewhere in the region of 140 persons coming to present claims. Some of the claims are related to homes, and those are the ones that tend to be more devastating. We know that persons are still preparing themselves to bring in claims. We understand that people are trying to get their lives back to some normal pattern, so they're trying to clear out the water, get the contents all sorted out, and then they're going to come in. So we anticipate that. But at least they're calling in and letting us know. And what we've been doing is sending adjusters out there to visit them so that we can get a sense of how bad the damages are. The next level would be that we also have persons who have motor claims. We've seen a lot of claims where persons have totally lost their car. It's not like a motor accident where you're wondering about repairing the car. These are, in some instances, total losses. These people's lives have been impacted greatly.
Not to be caught off guard, such as we have been in the last couple of weeks with torrential downpours, officials from the National Emergency Management Agency activated and opened some 23 shelters in the capital for those who had their homes compromised.
Yesterday, ZNS News visited a number of those shelters to find out if Bahamians are in fact taking advantage of them, which then they're still open for those who need them. LaDawn Davis visited a few of those shelters and filed this report.
On Wednesday night, ZNS News made its first stop to the St. Barnabas Anglican Church shelter on Wolf Road to see if anyone checked in after the torrential downpours in the capital. Director of Social Services Melanie Zonical says she is deeply concerned that a large number of Bahamians whose homes and private vehicles were severely damaged due to excessive floodings are not taking advantage of the shelters available to them.
There was one young woman here earlier today. And I think when she saw she was the only one here, she decided that she would try to find shelter with relatives. For some reasons, Bahamians don't like to leave their homes. And I think a majority of them, if they find themselves that the flooding, their homes are compromised, then they can find other relatives that they can be that can help accommodate them. And for persons who really have some problems, because we had a lady last night who was disabled, and we had to find shelter for her and her teenage daughter. So we were able to put her up in one of the local motels that we normally use to provide temporary shelter for persons who are homeless on a temporary basis.
But that was not the case for the other 3 shelters visited. When ZNS News arrived to the Holy Cross Anglican Church off Soldier Road, the Hillview Seventh-day Adventist Church and the Bahamas Association of the Physically Disabled after 6 p.m., we met the doors locked and the parking lots empty. The Social Services Director says while her team is responsible for manning 4 other shelters, if the weather subsides, then they will shut down operations. But if not, she says they will do all they can to assist those in need.
We have been assisted here by members of the Defense Force. Persons, if they feel that their homes are compromised or the flooding gets too unbearable, then they can come to either one of those centers. If they are not within walking distance and they're far away, they can call NEMA, and NEMA can arrange transportations. If they come to the shelters, we suggest that they bring a blanket and just some snacks, because we don't provide food as such. But we will be here until tomorrow morning, and hopefully we'll get the all clear from NEMA that we can shut down the shelters.
ZNS News also drove along the Long Wharf area where the tide was at its highest and 2 cruise ships were docked in port. However, along West Bay Street it was flooded, making it impassable for motorists. Administrators from a number of the Family Islands are reporting they are prepared for the weather, but there was no flooding or evacuations on those islands. LaDawn Davis, ZNS Network News.
Last week, Tuesday, 15 inches of rain fell, leaving residents of eastern New Providence picking up the pieces. The torrential rain resulted in severe flooding in areas of Pinewood, Camperdown, and Fox Hill.
National Emergency Management Agency officials dispatched 17 teams to assess the affected areas in the Eastern District, and based on their findings, suggestions will be made to assist families in need.
Officials at the Department of Environmental Health are closely waiting for the rainwater to recede, allowing them the opportunity to continue their mosquito fogging. Assistant Director responsible for vector control, Andrew Thompson, told our news team that environmental health officials usually fog the Eastern District during this time of the year.
Started adulticiding, and that is trying to kill the adults that are emerging from those areas. And we have started that. Again, that treatment also depends upon Mother Nature. If the wind is more than 10 miles per hour, it affects the application, and so we can't really do anything. Additionally, again, if it rains, that also will affect the chemical.
Now, Mr. Thompson also offered this advice to residents to avoid becoming the prey of mosquitoes.
This is also the time where we like to encourage homeowners, businesses to make an inspection of the property. And if there's anything that is holding water, any man-made container, these containers can be a source of breeding of a particular type of mosquito. The mosquitoes that are able to transmit dengue, and of course we don't want that to happen again. And so we really need the public's assistance in playing their part in disposing of those containers, if they have containers.
Schools reopened today, marking the end of a series of rain days. Schools were closed after the floodwaters inundated communities and created a nightmare for drivers. Since last week, only students sitting national exams were required to attend school here in the capital and in certain Family Island communities. Testimony continued today in the Kofi Goodman murder trial. Jurors heard from Detective Sergeant Marvin Cargill, who told the court that he collected bed sheets, a towel, 3 toothbrushes, an undershirt, and paint scrapings from a number of walls inside a Yorkshire Street apartment. 38-year-old Kofi Goodman is accused of killing 11-year-old Columbus primary school student Marco Archer back in September of 2011. Some 12 more witnesses are scheduled to testify in the case. Justice Bernard Turner is presiding. The sentence of convicted murderer Prince Hepburn was put off to June 12th today. Presiding Judge Indra Charles was unable to proceed with the case because of a leaky roof in her office caused by heavy rains over the last several days. Now, none of the court files were damaged as they were reportedly in a secure area. Meantime, Justice Charles has adjourned all of her matters to Monday of next week to allow time for roof repairs. Meantime, Prince Hepburn was convicted back in April of the brutal murder of his girlfriend of 5 years, 42-year-old Nellie Brown Cox, 2 years ago at a South Beach apartment. According to evidence led in the case, Brown Cox died from multiple lacerations to the body. She sustained about 30 injuries in all. Well, still to come in the Bahamas tonight.
The BTC Star Maker show takes a very different turn.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
This is your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm LaDawn Davis. The first ever social media boot camp aimed at empowering business professionals and entrepreneurs is expected to take shape in the country over the next 2 days, beginning today. A recent survey conducted by officials of the publicity agency Bahamas shows that the average social media user spends roughly 6.5 hours a day on a social media network. Officials are optimistic that this 2-day workshop will encourage business owners to use the knowledge gained as a stepping stone to capitalize on the market. The 2-day social media bootcamp workshop will take place at the Sheraton Hotel. For the 6th consecutive year, the Financial Voice will conduct its annual examination of the national budget and other issues relating to the nation's fiscal health live on the ZNS television network tonight at 8 p.m. According to President of the Councilors Limited, Joan Albury, members of the public tuning into the broadcast will be able to ask questions of the panel by telephone, fax, or even a text. Fidelity Bank Bahamas Limited is celebrating its 35th anniversary in the banking industry. The popular bank was incorporated in the Bahamas on May 26, 1978 by Alfred Stewart as the first home banking corporation. Under his stewardship, the bank pioneered innovative products and services and built a foundation that continues to serve its customers well. Today, Fidelity remains a leader in banking, revolutionizing the way people borrow and save. In honor of this anniversary, they have produced a music video that is the first of its kind for Bahamian Bank, and it will premiere directly following tonight's newscast, so be sure to stay tuned. And this is your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm LaDawn Davis.